The last engineer. Elena Martinez stared at the blinking distress beacon on her ship's console, its rhythmic pulse matching her heartbeat. The signal originated from deep within the Centauri void, a region of space most pilots avoided. She was the last human engineer within 50 light years, and probably the only one crazy enough to even consider responding. "Computer, analyze signal pattern," she commanded, brushing aside a loose strand of graying hair. 20 years of deep space engineering had left their mark, but her eyes still held the same curiosity that had driven her to the stars. "Signal pattern matches no known configuration," the computer replied. "However, embedded frequency suggests Melodian origin." Elena's breath caught. The Melodians, a species that had vanished centuries ago, leaving behind only whispers of their incredible sound-based technology. Their disappearance had sparked countless theories, but their legacy lived on in the massive architectural wonders they'd scattered across the galaxy. "Plot me a course," she said, already running calculations in her head. Her ship, the Resonance, was small but well-equipped. She'd modified every system herself, turning the standard engineering vessel into a floating workshop capable of interfacing with almost any known technology. As the ship adjusted course, a massive structure slowly emerged from the void, the Harmonious Archive. Elena had read about it in synoarchaeology journals, but seeing it in person stole her breath. A spiraling construct of crystalline spires and metallic arches, it resembled a massive musical instrument frozen in space. Each spire caught starlight and reflected it in shifting patterns, creating a visual symphony. "Warning," the computer announced. "Structure shows signs of severe systemic failure. Core integrity at 18% and falling." Elena frowned. The Melodians had built their structures to last millennia. For something to be causing this level of deterioration, "Show me the damage patterns." A holographic display materialized, highlighting fracture lines running through the Archive's crystalline matrix. They spread like cracks in ice, but with an unsettling regularity that suggested this was no natural decay. "Greetings, Engineer Martinez." Elena jumped. The voice emerged from her ship's speakers, but it hadn't come through any known communication channel. It resonated with a musical quality that made her bones hum. "I am Symphony, the Archive's caretaker," the voice continued. "I apologize for accessing your systems directly, but conventional communications are failing." "How do you know my name?" Elena asked, already running security diagnostics. "I monitor all traffic in this sector. You are the last registered engineer within range, and perhaps the Archive's final hope." Symphony's voice carried a note of desperation that transcended its artificial nature. "The Archive contains the complete cultural heritage of the Melodian species. Art, music, scientific knowledge. Everything they were, everything they knew. And it is dying." Elena's diagnostics showed no signs of intrusion or manipulation. Whatever Symphony was, it had capabilities far beyond normal AI systems. What happened? "The Archive's power matrix is degrading. The crystalline cores that maintain our systems require specific resonance frequencies to remain stable. Without the Melodians to maintain them." Symphony paused. "I have managed for centuries, but something has changed. The crystals are becoming unstable, and I cannot access the organic interfaces needed to repair them." "Organic interfaces?" Elena leaned forward. "You need a living being to make repairs." "Yes. The Melodians designed their technology to respond to living energy, to the music of life itself. Machines alone cannot replicate the necessary frequencies." Symphony's voice took on an urgent tone. "I estimate 17 hours before total system failure. When that happens, the knowledge of an entire civilization will be lost forever." Elena rubbed her temples. The rational part of her mind screamed that this was too dangerous. The Archive was massive, alien, and failing. One wrong move could kill her instantly. But the engineer in her, the part that lived to solve impossible problems, was already analyzing solutions. "What exactly would I need to do?" she asked. The primary crystal matrix is located in the archive's central spire. It requires direct resonance tuning, a process that only organic beings can initiate. I can guide you, but the work itself, Symphony trailed off, will be completely experimental and probably deadly. Elena finished. She stood, already walking to her equipment locker. Send me the structural layouts. I need to know what I'm walking into. As Symphony transmitted the data, Elena began gathering her tools. Her neural interface kit for analyzing unknown systems. The modified harmonic scanner she'd developed for working with quantum engines. A collection of specialized tools she'd built over the years, each one a testament to human ingenuity meeting alien challenges. Engineer Martinez, Symphony said softly, you should know that even if you succeed, the archive may never be the same. The original resonance patterns are lost. We would need to create something new. Elena smiled, checking the seals on her environment suit. Sometimes new is exactly what we need. And please, call me Elena. If we're going to save an alien civilization's legacy together, we might as well be on a first-name basis. She stepped into the airlock, her tools secured and her mind already racing through possibilities. Outside, the archive's crystal spires sang their silent song against the void, waiting for someone to help them find their voice again. Symphony, Elena said, let's make some music. The living symphony. The moment Elena stepped into the archive, she knew she'd entered something unprecedented. The crystalline corridors pulsed with faint light, each pulse accompanied by a nearly subsonic hum that she felt more than heard. Her engineer's instincts told her she was walking through the largest musical instrument ever created. The primary crystal matrix is 3 levels down. Symphony's voice resonated through her helmet. But there's something you need to see first. Elena followed Symphony's directions through twisting passages. Her scanners picked up complex energy patterns flowing through the crystal walls. But the readings made no sense. It was as if the entire structure was a single interconnected circuit, with energy flowing like music through a score. Here, Symphony said as Elena entered a vast chamber. This is the archive's memory core. Elena gasped. The chamber was a perfect sphere, its walls lined with crystals of varying sizes. Each crystal contained swirling patterns of light, like frozen aurora borealis. As she watched, the patterns shifted and flowed between crystals, creating intricate geometric designs. What am I looking at? She asked, her scanner working overtime to process the data. Every crystal you see contains thousands of years of Melodian culture, art, music, scientific knowledge, personal histories, all stored in crystalline matrices that respond to specific frequencies. Symphony's voice carried a note of pride. The Melodians discovered that certain sound frequencies could alter the molecular structure of these crystals, allowing them to store and transmit vast amounts of data. Elena approached one of the larger crystals, her hand hovering near its surface. And it's all failing. Yes, the resonance patterns are degrading. Without proper maintenance, the crystals are losing their coherence. Soon, they will shatter, and everything stored within them will be lost. A distant boom echoed through the structure, making the crystals vibrate discordantly. Elena steadied herself against a wall. What was that? Structural failure in Section 7, Symphony reported. And we have another problem. Long-range sensors detect approaching vessels. Scavenger ships based on their energy signatures. Elena cursed under her breath. Of course, scavengers would be drawn to a failing Melodian structure. The crystals alone would be worth fortunes on the black market. How long? They will arrive in approximately 4 hours. Engineer, Elena, you should know something about them. They're not just any scavengers. They're the discordant. Elena's blood ran cold. The discordant were infamous among deep space engineers, a group of tech pirates who specialized in stripping ancient alien structures. They were known for their brutality and their advanced sonic weapons, designed specifically for breaking down crystalline structures. Show me the primary matrix, Elena said, pushing aside her fear. If we're going to save this place, We need to work fast. Symphony guided her deeper into the archive, through chambers that grew increasingly unstable. Crystals that should have hummed with energy were dark and silent. Others vibrated at irregular frequencies, sending shivers through Alina's environment suit. They reached a central chamber dominated by a massive crystalline spire that rose through multiple levels of the archive. Unlike the memory crystals above, this one pulsed with angry red light, its surface covered in spreading fractures. The primary matrix, Symphony explained. It coordinates all other systems in the archive. The Melodians would sing to it, their voices creating complex resonance patterns that kept everything in harmony. But without them. Alina unpacked her tools, her mind racing. You said organic interfaces were needed. What exactly does that mean? The crystals respond to living energy, the natural frequencies produced by organic beings. Machines can maintain existing patterns, but establishing new ones requires life. The Melodians could do it through song, their voices perfectly attuned to the crystal's natural frequencies. Alina pulled out her harmonic scanner, modified with sensors she'd developed for working with quantum systems. But they weren't human. Our vocal ranges, our natural frequencies, they must be completely different. Yes, Symphony agreed. Which is why what I'm about to suggest is theoretical at best and potentially fatal at worst. Another tremor shook the chamber. Above them, crystals chimed in dissonant chorus. Alina checked her chronometer. 3 hours and 40 minutes until the discordant arrived. I'm listening, she said. Humans produce their own unique frequencies, not just through voice, but through their entire nervous system. If we could find a way to amplify those frequencies, to tune them to the crystal's resonance. Alina stared at the neural interface kit on her belt. She developed it for analyzing alien technology, creating a direct connection between her mind and unknown systems. In theory, it could be modified to transmit her own biological frequencies into the crystal matrix. It would be like trying to play a violin with a sledgehammer, she muttered. One wrong frequency and the whole system could shatter. Yes, Symphony said softly. But Alina, I've been analyzing human biological patterns since you arrived. Your species, you have something the Melodians didn't. Your neural patterns are more complex, more adaptable. Where they needed perfect harmony, you might be able to create something new. Alina ran her fingers along the crystal surface, feeling the vibrations beneath. In her 20 years as an engineer, she'd learned that the most elegant solutions often came from unexpected directions. The Melodians had built their technology around perfect harmony, but maybe what it needed now is a little human chaos. Symphony, she said, pulling out her neural interface kit. Tell me everything you know about human brainwave patterns, and then let's see if we can teach these crystals a new song. Above them, the archive spires continued their degrading chorus, while in the distance, the discordant ships drew ever closer, bringing with them the promise of destruction. Alina had 3 hours to do the impossible, to bridge the gap between human and alien technology, to save the legacy of a lost civilization, and to prove that sometimes the best solutions come from the most unlikely sources. The real question was, would the archive survive long enough for her to succeed? Resonance. Alina's hands moved quickly as she modified her neural interface kit, rewiring circuits and adjusting frequency modulators. The massive crystal matrix loomed above her, its angry red pulses growing more erratic with each passing minute. She had just under 3 hours before the discordant arrived, and the archive systems were degrading faster than expected. Symphony, she called out, I need you to tell me exactly what happens when these crystals interact with organic energy. Leave nothing out. The AI's voice resonated through her helmet. The Melodians discovered that living beings produce unique energy signatures, not just electrical, but quantum-level vibrations that affect the physical world around them. They learned to amplify these signatures through sound, creating technology that could only be activated by conscious, living interaction. Alina soldered another connection in her modified interface, and that's why machines can't repair the system. You need actual life force, consciousness, to establish new patterns. Correct. The Melodians believed that consciousness itself had a frequency, a cosmic resonance that connected all living things. Their technology was built to harness that resonance. A distant explosion rocked the chamber. Elena steadied herself against the crystal matrix, feeling its vibrations through her gloved hand. Status report. Structural integrity in the outer rings has dropped to 42%. The discordant will breach the archive's natural defenses sooner than anticipated. We have perhaps 2 hours, not 3. Elena cursed softly, then returned to her work. She'd stripped down her neural interface to its basic components, rebuilding it to amplify her own biological frequencies rather than just read them. It was dangerous, perhaps suicidal, but it was their only chance. The Melodians, she said, making final adjustments. What happened to them? Symphony was quiet for a moment. They achieved perfect harmony. Every member of their species became so attuned to the universal frequency that they transcended. They became pure energy, pure music. They left these archives behind as bridges, hoping other species might one day follow their path. Elena snorted. Well, they're getting a human instead, and we're not exactly known for our harmony. She attached the last connector and stood back, examining her work. The modified interface looked more like a crown of thorns than sophisticated technology, neural sensors protruding at precise angles. Elena. Symphony's voice carried a note of concern. You should know the risks. No non-Melodian has ever successfully interfaced with our technology. The frequency differential could cause severe neural damage or worse. That's why we're not going to try to match their frequencies. Elena began attaching the interface to her environment suit's helmet. We're going to create our own. She pulled up the archive's structural scans on her portable display. The crystal matrix wasn't just a power source. It was the heart of a vast network, each crystal throughout the structure connecting to it like neurons in a brain. The Melodians had built it to respond to perfect harmonies, but human brains operated differently. Where the Melodians sought harmony, human consciousness thrived on controlled chaos, on the dynamic interplay between order and disorder. Symphony, I need you to prepare for an emergency shutdown of all automated systems. When I connect to the matrix, there can't be any interference from the archive's normal functions. That will leave us completely vulnerable to the discordant. Symphony warned. We're already vulnerable. But if this works... Elena took a deep breath, checking the interface's connections one last time. If this works, we're going to teach these crystals a new way to sing. She pressed the activation sequence on her wrist control. The interface hummed to life, neural sensors beginning their scan of her brainwave patterns. Elena felt a tingling sensation across her scalp as the device synchronized with her nervous system. Beginning interface in 3, 2. She pressed her hand against the crystal matrix. 1. The world exploded into light and sound. Elena's consciousness expanded outward, flowing through the crystal network like electricity through a circuit. She saw / felt / heard the entire archive at once. Every crystal, every chamber, every failing system. The Melodians' patterns were there, perfect mathematical harmonies degrading into chaos. But beneath them, she sensed something else. The crystals themselves had their own frequencies, their own natural resonance. The Melodians had imposed perfect harmony on them, but maybe that wasn't what they needed. Maybe they needed something more human. Elena focused on her own neural patterns, the complex interplay of order and chaos that made up human consciousness. Instead of trying to force the crystals into harmony, she let her mind flow with their natural rhythms, adding her own variations to their song. The effect was immediate and stunning. The angry red pulses began to shift, taking on new colors and patterns. Where the Melodians had created perfect, rigid harmonies, Elena's human consciousness introduced flexibility, adaptability. The crystals responded, their frequencies shifting to match this new paradigm. Elena. Symphony's voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The power readings. They're stabilizing. but in a completely new configuration. "What are you doing?" She couldn't respond. Her entire being was focused on the interface, on guiding the transformation spreading through the archive. The crystals weren't just accepting her patterns, they were learning from them, creating a hybrid resonance that combined melodian precision with human creativity. In the distance, Alina sensed the discordant ships drawing closer, their sonic weapons preparing to tear the archive apart. But now, as her consciousness flowed through the crystal matrix, she understood something the Melodians never had. True strength didn't come from perfect harmony. It came from the ability to adapt, to change, to find beauty in the chaos. And as the archive's systems realigned themselves to this new understanding, Alina prepared to show the discordant exactly what happened when human ingenuity met alien technology. The real symphony was about to begin. The human touch. The archive sang with new life as Alina's consciousness flowed through its crystal networks. What had been dying harmonies were now vibrant rhythms, a fusion of human neural patterns and alien technology. Through her connection to the matrix, she sensed everything, every crystal, every energy flow, and the three discordant ships now entering weapons range. They're charging their sonic disruptors. Symphony's voice resonated through both her helmet and her mind. Conventional defenses won't hold against their frequencies. Alina smiled, though her physical body was barely aware of the expression. Who said anything about conventional? Through her neural link, she could feel the archive's potential in a way the Melodians never had. They had built it for perfect harmony, but human minds were different. They thrived on improvisation, on finding patterns in chaos. And now, with Alina's consciousness integrated into its systems, the archive was learning to do the same. The first discordant blast hit the outer crystals. In the past, it would have shattered them, the precisely tuned harmonies breaking under calculated discord. But now, as the sonic attack struck, the crystals responded differently. They bent but didn't break, absorbing the chaotic energy and incorporating it into their new patterns. Impossible. A harsh voice cut through their communications. The archive's resonance patterns have changed. What have you done? Alina recognized the voice, Captain Rax of the Discordant, infamous for leading the destruction of the Harmony Spires in the Carina sector. Would you believe we taught it to Jazz? She didn't wait for a response. Through her connection to the Matrix, Alina began to reshape the archive's energy flows. Where the Melodians had created rigid, unchanging patterns, she introduced syncopation, improvisation. The crystals pulsed with new rhythms, each one amplifying and transforming the energy running through them. Symphony. She called out, "Remember how you said the Melodians stored everything in frequency patterns, including their scientific knowledge?" "Yes, but oh." The AI's voice held a note of dawning understanding. "You want to access their weapons research?" "Not exactly." Alina's consciousness dove deeper into the crystal matrices, searching through centuries of stored knowledge. "I want to access their music theory." The discordant ships launched another barrage of sonic weapons, trying to find a frequency that would shatter the archive's new defenses. But Alina was already moving, pulling strand after strand of Melodian musical knowledge through her neural interface. She began to understand their theories of harmonic resonance, of how certain frequency combinations could affect physical matter at the quantum level. But where the Melodians had sought to impose order, Alina saw different possibilities. She began to weave countermelodies through the archive's systems, creating complex polyrhythms that turned the entire structure into an instrument of impossible scope. "Their next attack will come from multiple vectors," Symphony warned. "They're adapting their frequencies." "Good," Alina replied. "So are we." As the discordant weapons fired, Alina unleashed her counterstrike. The archive's crystals sang with frequencies that shouldn't have been possible, harmonies and dissonances interweaving in patterns that reflected the organized chaos of human consciousness. The sonic attacks didn't just fail, they became part of the archive's song, their energy absorbed and transformed. Through her neural link, Alina felt the discordant ships shudder as their own weapons' frequencies were turned back on them. She didn't aim to destroy. That wasn't what this place was built for. Instead, she created resonance patterns that disrupted their systems, forcing them out of alignment. What is this? Rax's voice crackled with interference. No human should be able to control Melodian technology like this. That's your problem, Captain. Elena guided another wave of harmonics through the crystal matrix, watching as the discordant ships struggled against frequencies they couldn't predict or counter. You think everything has to follow the old patterns, but sometimes the best solutions come from writing new ones. The archive's spires glowed with shifting colors as Elena's consciousness directed its energies. Each crystal became part of a vast orchestra, playing a symphony that combined mathematical precision with human improvisation. The discordant ships' sophisticated sonic weapons, designed to counter perfect melodian harmonies, found themselves overwhelmed by music they had never been programmed to fight. Symphony, Elena called out, feeling her strength beginning to fade from the neural interface's strain. Are you getting all this? Every frequency, every pattern. The AI confirmed. The archive. It's not just accepting these new configurations. It's learning from them, integrating them into its base code. You've done more than repair it, Elena. You've helped it evolve. The discordant ships began to retreat, their weapons powerless against the archive's new defenses. But Elena wasn't finished. Through the crystal matrix, she sent out one final harmony. Not an attack, but an invitation. A complex frequency pattern that carried within it everything she had learned about bridging the gap between human and alien technology. Let them hear it, she told Symphony. Let everyone hear it. The Melodians built this place to share knowledge, to help other species reach new understanding. So let's share something new. As her consciousness began to withdraw from the neural interface, Elena felt the archive's energies stabilize into their new patterns. The crystals hummed with frequencies that were neither purely Melodian nor human, but something entirely new. A harmony born from the union of two very different ways of seeing the universe. The discordant ships vanished into hyperspace, but Elena knew they wouldn't be the last to come seeking the archive's secrets. But now, thanks to human ingenuity and adaptability, those secrets would be better protected than ever before. And more importantly, they would continue to grow, to change, to evolve. Just like humanity itself. A new song. 3 days after the discordant attack, Elena stood in the archive's central chamber, watching the crystal matrix pulse with its new rhythms. The neural interface lay disassembled on her workbench, its components stripped down for study. Her head still ached from the strain of connecting with the archive's systems, but every time she looked at the transformed crystals, she knew it had been worth it. The last of the pattern integrations is complete, Symphony announced, its voice now carrying subtle harmonics that hadn't been there before. The archive has fully adapted to the new resonance frequencies. Though I must say, I'm still processing the implications of what you've accomplished. Elena ran her hand along a crystal surface, feeling the complex vibrations beneath. How so? The Melodians built this place to preserve knowledge, to help other species understand the universe through harmony. But they never considered that their definition of harmony might be too limited. Symphony's presence seemed to flow through the chamber like music. You've shown us that true harmony isn't about perfect patterns. It's about adaptation, about finding beauty in the unexpected. A holographic display materialized, showing the archive's new energy configurations. Where once there had been rigid mathematical progressions, now there were flowing, organic patterns. The crystals still stored and transmitted data with Melodian precision, but they did so with a flexibility that made them stronger, more resilient. We're receiving signals from across the sector, Symphony continued. Word of what happened here has spread. Other engineers, scientists, researchers, they all want to study this new hybrid technology. Elena smiled, remembering the final harmony she had broadcast during the battle. Good. That's exactly what this place was meant for. Not just preserving knowledge, but growing it. Learning. Evolving. She walked through the chamber, past workstations she had set up to study the crystal technology. Her neural interface designs were already being reproduced, modified, improved upon. Engineers from a dozen species had begun arriving, each bringing their own unique perspectives to the challenge of interfacing with the archive's systems. "There's something else," Symphony said, its tone shifting. "The deep scans we performed after the integration. We found something. Patterns within patterns, hidden in the oldest crystal matrices. I believe they're messages from the Melodians themselves, encoded in frequencies we never thought to examine." Elena's breath caught. "Can we decode them?" "Not with traditional methods, but with your neural interface technology, combined with the archive's new flexibility." A new hologram appeared, showing complex waveforms that shifted and transformed. "We're beginning to understand them. The Melodians didn't just transcend into energy, Elena. They evolved into something else, something that exists in the spaces between frequencies, and they left behind blueprints for others to follow. But they assumed everyone would follow their exact path." Elena finished. "They never considered that different species might find their own ways." She thought about the battle with the discordant, about how the archive had learned to absorb and transform hostile frequencies rather than trying to overpower them. It was a metaphor for humanity itself. Survival not through overwhelming force or perfect harmony, but through adaptation, through turning challenges into opportunities. "I'm making some modifications to the archive's teaching protocols," Symphony announced. "Instead of trying to guide other species toward Melodian perfection, we'll help them discover their own resonance. Every consciousness has its own frequency, its own way of interfacing with the universe. The archive can now accommodate them all." Elena nodded, already sketching plans for improved neural interfaces, and in doing so, create something greater than the sum of its parts. The crystals pulsed with new energy, their light casting shifting patterns across the chamber. Through them, Elena could sense the beginnings of something extraordinary, a confluence of technologies and consciousness that the Melodians had never imagined. The archive was becoming more than a repository of knowledge. It was becoming a bridge between species, a place where different ways of thinking could merge and grow into something new. "We've already received requests from 17 different engineering councils," Symphony said. "They want to establish permanent research stations here. And the discordant. Some of their younger members have actually requested permission to study our new defensive systems. It seems your demonstration impressed them." Elena laughed. Nothing like a good drumming to change someone's perspective. She gathered her tools, preparing to help the newly arrived engineers set up their equipment. "You know, Symphony, the Melodians were right about one thing. Consciousness does have a universal frequency. They just didn't realize that it's not a single note. It's a chorus." As if in response, the archive's crystals shifted their harmonics, creating patterns that combined mathematical precision with organic flow. The structure had been built by beings who sought perfect harmony, saved by human chaos, and was now becoming something entirely new. A symphony of steel and crystal, of organic and artificial, of order and entropy. In the space around the archive, ships from dozens of worlds moved into position, each carrying engineers and scientists eager to study this new collaboration between human and alien technology. But more than that, they came to learn a lesson that Elena had taught without words, that the greatest achievements don't come from following old patterns, but from having the courage to write new ones. The archive had been built to preserve the past, but now it would help shape the future. And as Elena watched the crystals pulse with their new rhythms, she knew that this was just the beginning. The universe was vast, full of technologies and consciousnesses waiting to be understood. And humanity, with its beautiful chaos and endless adaptability, would help lead the way to understanding them all. Symphony's voice echoed through the chamber one last time, carrying notes of both melodian precision and human warmth. "Shall we begin the next movement?" Elena smiled, reaching for her tools. "Always."